What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's staying dry, staying out the rain here in Little Rock. So, wanted to talk about this. A lot of people getting ready to graduate. A lot of people getting ready to probably graduate from college as well as I did last year. But I want to talk to the young people, midway, whoever wants to hear it. I'm making these kind of content because I think about what would I want to hear when I was that age. What could somebody have passed down to me? Because I feel like as I learn things through life and become pretty good at it, it should be my duty to share it with the younger people or whoever want to listen to it. But especially younger people, I think that if they want a head start, really want to start off with the momentum, it would be wise, it would be smart, it would be advantageous to you to listen to somebody or take information from somebody that is currently doing it a little bit ahead so you can have the insight on what to avoid and what to not get caught up in order to stay on the right track while you're moving up. So that's why I make this content for, is to give people a head start who needs that insight. Because sometimes you don't really hear these talked about enough. You hear all the other stuff on social media, but nobody talks about the stuff regular people have to do. Everybody's not going to be a superstar, a movie star, or athlete. And even then, you still have to have the commitment. That's what we're talk about today is commitment. The state of being dedicated to a cause, activity, or etc. We're going to focus more on the development side of it, developing yourself when you graduate, become an adult. You are responsible for developing yourself. Nobody's to blame at that point. What you know, what you don't know, you go off of what you know. And if you don't know, do the research to know, to get the understanding. But you're responsible for your development when you become an adult. Man or woman, you're responsible. Life has a way of uh, showing you if you don't know, it could cost you. Sometimes the cost is small. Sometimes the cost is um, in the middle, and sometimes it's a great cost. But commitment, understanding how to be committed to something. What do I mean by that? When you think you want to do something, look at what is the commitment to do this, right? We're going to talk about some of those things, right? The challenge of being committed, understanding the journey and executing the strategy. The first thing to think about is college. If you want to go to college, you're looking at a 2 to 4 year commitment. That's just undergraduate level. If you want to go to the graduate level, tack another 2 years on to the 4 years. So now you're looking at 6 years. You want to be a lawyer, doctor, you could be looking at 7 years of college and graduate or JD or a doctor, medical education. It's a commitment. You have to understand that most of the money that you make as a regular person, you have to be committed to a journey or a track to get there. Just my opinion from what I see with my own two eyes. If you try to do something that's quick, most of the time it may last for a little bit of time, but at some point it slips off of money. You have nothing else to fall back on. That's why important. It's important to commit commit to something that's gonna last and you can carry it with you no matter wherever you go. If you get a college degree in something that makes sense, STEM, science, technology, education, engineering, science, technology, engineering, and math. That's like the top ones. Medical, nursing, MD, medical doctor. If you can get a degree in something that makes sense for wherever you live, it will set you up. It will increase your chances for success. Apprenticeship. They're talking about the shortage of people available in apprenticeships. Why is that? Why is it that there's a shortage in plumbers and electricians and things of that nature? This is just my opinion from what I see with my own two eyes. A lot of people either they don't know about apprenticeships as a whole, and another thing is when they know about it, it's the commitment that it takes. 1 to 6 years, you have to get so many hours. Then you go from an apprentice to a journeyman. You work some more hours. You go from journeyman to a master in whatever trade you're in. The commitment part, in my opinion, is the toughest part because a lot of times we're gonna talk about that too, but things happen, life happens. You have to, while you committed, you have to make good decisions that helps you stay committed. Sometimes that's the hard part is while you're going to college, while you're doing apprenticeship, a vocation, a certification, making decisions and choices while you're in it to be more efficient in being committed. The third one is vocation, 1 to 2 years. It may seem shorter, but from what I've seen, vocational things, it's you have to be committed to the journey of building yourself up. Whether it's cutting hair, you have to build up clientele, or you're doing hair. Um, Mechanic, you can be a mechanic. You have to build up your clientele on who you fixing people cars. You have to build up your experience. All of it comes with a commitment. Nothing in life that's worthwhile comes without a commitment. You got to have a commitment. And that's just how it go. If you want to be successful, that's just how it go. Certification. Time varies because time varies because some people get certification, they study, they self-study. Some people go to boot camps and stuff like that. Either way, there's still a commitment involved because you might have to do reading, studying, boot camps, long seminars and classes and stuff like that. But it's out there, guys. So many things you can get certified in a vocation or apprenticeship or college. You just have to do the research. It's a commitment. Do you want to be better, or do you just want to just um, be comfortable, be complacent? But if you want to do better, you have to commit to doing better. Let me know in the comments what you think. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think about this video. But I am very keen on talking about commitment because I think when I was young, I struggled with commitment. That's why I would go back and tell the younger Mike, if you're gonna do something, you need to stick with it. The problem was I just didn't know all the information I needed to know to make that solid decision. And now is way more resources available to help you make solid decisions. Whether you go look up degrees at the school, you can go talk to an apprenticeship. You got to come out of your shell. You got to talk to people, learn about the field, all those little things, when you're committed to something. So, some more challenges of being committed is a part. Are you maintaining a priority list? If you do not have a priority list, it could throw you off so fast. You gotta have a priority list. You have to. I don't know how many times when I was younger, before I even got married, I think I had to learn this, like what comes first, and it changes whatever phase of life you in, it could change. But God should always, for me, I'm saying for me, this is just a boilerplate like priority. Let's just give you something visual to see. But for me, God is always first because without God, a lot of things you just can't do. And then it's a lot of things up here that you can't get to or connect those dots because you out here wilding. And like I was out there wilding when I was younger, just doing crazy stuff. But when you put God first, you will see things, you will reach potentials in you that you didn't even think you could reach because your steps are being guided by God because He's number one. Number two is your family. Whether you want to be a husband, you want to be a husband, or you want to be a spouse, you want to be a wife. It's up to you. But me as a provider, after God, my family, my wife and kids are second. Providing for them, not just the financial part, but making sure the business is handled, making sure things are done. Making sure the cars like revenue office, all that stuff, making sure all of that stuff is taken care of within a year's time. Because you have to do these things annually. Some things you got to do annually, some things you have to do monthly, and some things you might have to do daily checks and stuff like that. With my kids, wife and kids, making sure that they're fine, making sure that, they go to the doctor appointments and stuff like that, making sure they get to those, providing that transportation, making sure things are running right. Family, even when you're committed, sometimes when you're younger, you don't realize you work so hard to be free, and then you go out there and make crazy decisions, and then you start adding things to your priority list that kind of takes their freedom away back because you gotta prioritize what you put your brain resources on. So with that being said, your health, you gotta take care of your health. You can't ignore your health. How much you eat, your intake, the levels, sodium, potassium, all those kind of things. You got to think about all of that stuff when you become an adult. Nutrition, understanding it not from a person like you a dietitian, but understanding what works for your body. When you're young, you don't really have a choice. You got to eat what's in front of you because you're what your parents can afford and what you do. But once you become your own individual, you become like a grown, you move out. You have to be responsible and understand what works for you. What makes you gain weight? What makes you lose weight? How do your blood pressure is? Make sure you don't got diabetes, and if you do, watch the carb intake and sugar and stuff like that. If you don't take care of your health, it can affect the things that you're committed to because you have to almost stop because if you have a serious health problem, you have to stop and address that issue before you can get back into it. So health is very high on. You should be high on your priority list. I don't care who you are, whether you're big, small, tall, short. Your health is very important. Your vital health, very important. And then number four is your development as an individual. You cannot depend on another person to develop you. You have to. That's why I say God is first. When you understand His word, it will help you develop as a human if you want to. Some people, I'm made up in my mind, some people probably don't want to develop. But if you want to develop and you want to grow,
you want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
If you want to develop and you want to grow, you have to have that on your priority list. And like I say, these should always be somewhere in the top of your priority list, man. I don't know what else. I know when you're younger, you be thinking about money. When you, let's say, what 19, you be thinking about money, car, girls, house. Where you living at and stuff. Um, you're not even thinking about most things when you're young, unless you're taught this already. It's embedded in you to think these things, and that's what I want to do. I want to pass this down to the young person that's watching this or watch this later in life. Please do not allow life to mess up your priority list where you're putting vanity things that don't profit you or give you any kind of benefit later in life. It's just for that time, you have to be careful about what you prioritize. And that's just my opinion.
They told me bust out my AP. Perfect time, man.
So, another challenge of being committed is overcoming the odds against you, depending on your upbringing issues, where you grew up at. Grew up in the projects, or you just grew up in the neighborhood that's pretty rough. Sometimes people grow up in shelters and stuff like that. Sometimes those issues can make it tough for you to commit because you're always on the move. You're not settled. You're used to being unsettled and moving around. That will affect the commitment level because you're so used to moving around. And when you're committed, you're almost being still and committed to something. You're rooted in it. And that's one thing we talk about on the Thinking Game podcast. Make sure to check that out. We do a live once a week. We've been doing it Mondays here lately. Make sure to check that out. We try to talk about some of those upbringing issues that kids deal with, and being able to overcome that. You almost have to admit the issues that you had in your upbringing first in order to get to a place of resolve, right? You don't have to point the finger. You don't have to blame anybody. You don't have to have some kind of circle conviction, because most people won't even admit it. But internally, that's why it's good to have God first to help you resolve those issues and understand that was out of your control. And when things are in your control, don't repeat what was before you. That's the thing you got to think about. Don't repeat the issues that you experienced when in your upbringing. How can you be better at that, right? So another one is lack of exposure. Sometimes in the inner city, we lack the exposure to the different career fields. I'm gonna speak for myself. When I was younger, I didn't know what IT was. I didn't know what different little jobs do. Like, what's a CTO? You see CEO, but what does a CEO do? You see that fly across screens. They talk about it on these news channels. The CEO of so and so company. What is a CEO? What is a CTO? What is a business analyst? All these things. It's so many kind of career fields out there. But in the inner city, you lack that exposure because what's in proximity mostly is retail, restaurants, sometimes warehouses, depends. Those are starting to become few far in between. So a lot of people stay what's in proximity of them based on their um environment. So but I think the lack of exposure can affect your commitment because it's like, how do you know what to be committed to if you don't even know what it is? So lack of exposure sometimes will become a challenge to your commitment. Information inequality. I think this is another big thing that in the inner city our kids uh, are missing. That information inequality. Sometimes just not knowing is half the battle. And a lot of times we really push sports, which is not bad, but there are other things other than sports. Every kid don't want to play sports, and that's one of my goals when I get done with school is I really want to push like education and IT to kids that want to do it, that want to learn it. I think that's one of uh, one of the things we got to do as a community. Like there are different career fields that kids can really get into early, but we have to expose them to it, and we have to give them the information so they won't have information inequality. And another one is lack of financial resources. People try to say
They told me bust out my AP. Perfect time, man.
they try to say it's not all about the money. I beg to differ. I think it's about having resources. The more resources that you have, the more access that you can get to, especially with your kids. Programs, different things that kind of expose them to different things. But if you don't have the resources, you're not going to be able to do it because it's not in your scope of your budget. That's why it's important to commit to something, finish it, get in the career field, excel and thrive in it, get access to resources. So when you decide to have a family, you're already in position to put them in an advantageous position. I think you can do that. I think if a young person sit down and write out a plan or a strategy and stick to it, and it makes sense, I think they will be further ahead than most people, in my opinion. And if I'm off, let me know in the comments. Hit the like button as well.
They told me bust out my AP. Perfect time, man.
So, things that make it more challenging, health issues happen. You gotta watch your health, your vitals, blood pressure, blood sugar, your joints, heart, liver, kidneys. What are you intaking in your body? What's your diet like? You can't eat McDonald's every day. Well, you will have health issues. Another one that makes it more challenging is life events. Happens all the time. Death in the family. Something happened with the family, kids. You got to take care of that. And a lot of times with these issues, they're not, unless it's some major health, but life events, health issues. Sometimes if you are taking care of your health and it happens, it's really not that much of a long solution. It's really kind of making sure you stay on top of it so you don't have to go there. But life events, yeah, they happen. People, we all have a start date and we all going to have an end date. And they happen. Life events, they happen. Something happened to the house, so that happens too, or the car. Unexpected costs, car breakdown, tire blowout, and you got to be at class in the same day. How do you make that happen? How do you solve that problem? But these things happen, and then sometimes it all can build up at one time, and they have to stay in your mind in a positive place because you don't want anything to take you off of your path of committing to finishing what you started. Not easy to do, but it can be done. It can be done. Expectations. A lot of people stop doing things, not all, but their percentage, maybe like 40%, will stop doing something because of the expectations is not what they thought it was. They didn't like somebody talking crazy to them. The environment is toxic, or stuff like that. The race relations kind of stuff. But my thing is, if you're a regular person, especially as a man and you're a provider, there's a give and there's a take to being successful as a regular person. A lot of times people say that you don't have to work a job. I'm going to push back and say, what are you going to do to make the money or resources? You own your own business? Sure you can, but do you understand it's levels to that as well? Are you going to be a sole proprietorship, or are you going to run a legitimate business where you pay people salaries and manage people and sell products and do the back end paperwork? Are you up for that challenge? Are you up for, if nobody else shows up, you got to show up, whether you feel like it or not? Are you up for that challenge? A lot of times you hear people say, well, I didn't know it was going to be like this, so I just stopped. Sometimes those things pop up to see if you can solve the problem and go to the next level. No different than playing Super Mario. You start out at level 1, can you get to the last level to get to Koopa or whatever? Same way in life. You start out at level 1, can you get to the next level with the challenges that's in front of you? Another one is you feel a sense of entitlement, and you got to realize nobody's gonna give you anything in life. You have to go get it, and you're, like I say, you're responsible for what you develop yourself in. And if you don't like where you are in life right now, ask yourself, how did I get here? What choices and decisions did I make to get to where I am right now? And be accountable. Audit yourself. But one thing about expectations, I always tell people, look at the field that you're going into. If you know somebody working in that field, ask them what's the worst day like in this field. And if you can get past what the worst day is, the rest of it will be awesome. But there's always that worst day. And if you can just get past that, sometimes the worst day, it may feel like it's a long time. It may only be 5 minutes or an hour of craziness. And if you can just get past that, the rest of it go back to balancing back out again. So you have to have realistic expectations or it will challenge your commitment.
They told me bust out my AP. Perfect time, man.
So while you're going through your other educational path or post education, it's good to develop these skills while you're going through the path at the same time, right? Your skill set. If you're going into a college or an apprenticeship, how does this increase? How does this complement? How does this enhance your skill set? How does it do it? If you're natural at something, educate yourself around your natural skill set.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And does your skill set that you're building around and educating around, is that a valuable field in the area that you live in? You have to do the research and look into that. Like if I go to school in real estate, what's some of the best fields to work in real estate in? Or what's the process I have to go through? What's the commitment that I have to make to being in real estate? Because there is a commitment in being in real estate. Sometimes you see these people on social media and it's all the glamour life. They're in this big old house, doing tools, but they don't realize how long it took for them to get there, though. It was a commitment that they had to make. Education is what we was talking about, the commitment to stay educated, to keep up with continuing education. In life, don't stop learning. You should always want to learn. It is an ever-going process, even after you graduate college. They even tell you that. The learning don't stop once you graduate. It only begins at that point. Third one is communication, whether it's corporate communication if you want to be married, you got to learn how to communicate with your spouse, whether man or woman to man. I had to learn this. I try to get better each day. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. Shout out to Ashley. Love you, babe. But communication. And then the fourth one is mindset. Very important. The mindset to want to develop, the mindset to want to win no matter what, the mindset to say, I know what's going on, but I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm going to be a professional. I don't have to like the place, but I have to be a professional in this place if I want to make this money. When you're younger, you very rarely find a job because you don't have the experience yet that is laid back, is not as I don't want to say toxic, but it's not as desirable. Once you start getting the experience, you learn how to communicate, you up your mindset, you up that attitude, have a great attitude, educate yourself around your skill set, you'll start seeing the change in the opportunities that come your way. At least that's what happened for me. I had to really work on my attitude and myself and develop myself in my 20s. Once I turned it around and I started seeing doors open that I wasn't even expecting, I wasn't even looking for. But I had to work on these four things and still working on those four things. So the last slide, when you complete the goal, understanding what comes next. When you graduate, you get that certification or you complete that vocation. Now you getting into skill set development now. You specializing in something in the corporate world. You got to develop that skill. You got to make that skill value increase so you can demand, your skill will demand more compensation as it grows in the corporate landscape. What's the next steps in the field? Like, what field are you going into? If you're going into an apprenticeship, you're gonna be a journeyman first. You're gonna work up under a master plumber. Then what's the next step? You get those certain amount of hours, then you take your journeyman. You want to work in IT. You maybe gonna start out in help desk. Then you go from help desk, you got probably about 3 or 4 choices. You're gonna go into systems, you're gonna go into programming, you're gonna go into networks, and I think now like cybersecurity. Then when you get into those, what's the next step? You have to always be thinking ahead. If you want to increase your chances of success, you have to always think ahead. Don't ever get so comfortable where you're not thinking about the next move. Build your brand on social media. I had to learn this. You actually can go on here and build your brand, but you have to be careful about what you're building. You can either build a brand that attracts opportunities, or you can build a brand that detracts or repels opportunities. You have to have the sense enough to know what the brand that you're building is going to do. You have to know that. And all you got to do is do the research. But you have to be careful about having that mindset, I deserve. You have to go get it. And sometimes you got to have these things: skill set development, increase your experience level, and build a brand and understand what field you're going into. What's the next step? So with that being said, let me know in the comments. Hit that like button. Let me know what you think about this. Commitment. Understanding commitment. Staying committed. Even though things in life happen, being able to solve the problems and still remain committed to the goal at hand if you want to increase your chances of success. Yo, this is Mike.
They told me bust out my AP.
I'm signing
Perfect
out.
time,
Thanks for
man.
watching, and I will be back at another time.